It's not as if the 7 years that have passed would fill us with any strange expectations regarding what Fleshcrawl would present on their upcoming 10th album. Having been wallowing in death metal since the early 90s, with that gravelly sound typical of old-school Swedish death metal, the German band delivers exactly that. And what's the point of there being no surprises at all regarding what's coming? The point is precisely knowing what to expect and knowing that the quality is exactly what we seek and desire. Old school death metal as it should be, and immortal, because 100 years from now, it will still sound great. Ignition are back with their muscular heavy metal, closely reminiscent of the American sound of the late 80s and early 90s. Strong, powerful riffs demand headbanging, and Dennis Marshalek's voice is like thunder echoing through the air. The formula is classic, but doesn't sound stale. In fact, there are plenty of modern musical details here, yet they don't alter the traditional metal style they belong to in the slightest. This muscular style is already a rarity, but when it emerges in this form and with such quality, we have to give it the attention it deserves. Tracks like End of Night and In the Name of God exemplify this very quality. Malist's career has not disappointed in the way he has consistently managed to keep his atmospheric black metal engaging, and more importantly, memorable. Eternal Echo of the Fall is the 6th album of his career, and is far from the typical poorly produced one-man band project with rudimentary ideas. The epic and atmospheric elements aren't just a shortcut to long songs where repetition and a lack of ideas are the main drivers. Nor is it a blatant nod to shoegaze trends which, despite having saturated the market, have found acceptance in more mainstream circles. No, what we have here is atmospheric black metal, occasionally melodic, and when it is, it's always done in an epic way, never gratuitously. What we have is a collection of songs we recommend checking out any day of the week at any time of day. Bloodhunter have had an interesting journey in the European underground. Interesting and on the rise. So much so that expectations were quite high for this 4th album, Sons of the Abandoned. Melodic death metal, but without succumbing to excessive accessibility or veering toward the modern side, that is, metalcore. The energy level is quite high and in your face, but that doesn't mean it's a one-dimensional work or that it becomes predictable. For those who like their death metal with memorable leads and solos, with a strong personality at the helm, Diva Satanica delivers another brilliant performance here. This is a must-have album. It also features special guest appearances by Fernando Ribeiro of Moonspell on Threshold of Hell, and Laura Goldemund of Burning Witches on The Path That Never Ends. Evergrey are a unique case in the heavy music scene. Their sound has never been easy to pin down, a sort of blend of progressive metal and power metal without fully conforming to the genre's cliches. And within that dichotomy, they've developed a unique musical identity that makes every album a potential masterpiece. Those were the expectations we had before diving into Architects of a New Weave, and we were not disappointed. A rich, mature concept, memorable music even if it isn't flashy. That is, it isn't churned out on an assembly line with the sole purpose of delivering what it's supposed to deliver, so it can be devoured by the masses in 5 seconds and forgotten even sooner. Another strong album from a band that has long since forgotten how to make bad music. Einherjer have been ever present in our minds whenever the topic of Viking metal comes up. Perhaps they have a few less inspired albums, perhaps they fit too perfectly into the aforementioned category and thus lose some of the element of surprise in their work, but Lifeblood is the album that definitively proves they aren't a band primarily interested in ticking off items on a checklist when making new music. Lifeblood, their 10th studio album, is full of dynamics and memorable moments that show, to anyone who had doubts or even to those who don't know them, that they are one of the most interesting acts currently active in their genre. From Mexico, Phantom, one of the most impressive heavy/speed metal bands to come out of South America. Impressive for capturing the essence perfectly, or at least coming very close to it, and for doing so with such natural ease. Everything flows effortlessly. The analog production fits perfectly here, as do the leads, the rhythms, the solos, the reverb-drenched raspy vocals. The whole package comes together in perfect harmony to result in a great heavy metal album, or speed metal, or even thrash metal. However you want to look at it. Music that only makes sense to listen to while headbanging, regardless of the moment, the place, or even the company. A must-have album. Canadian band Iron Kingdom is back with their 6th album. Heavy metal is the law, and they follow it to the letter. Shadow's Dust is the perfect introduction for all heavy metal fans who've been sleeping on them and haven't been introduced to them before. More than just a collection of elements like riffs, drum beats, bass lines, solos, or Chris Osterman's vocals, it's the songs as a whole that first grab our ears and then our hearts. And I must add that there isn't much difference between the first and last stages described above. For air guitar, for singing with your fist in the air, this is yet another must-have album for your music collection. "11 years of waiting for a third album is a long time, but Iron Kobra proved that Eternal Dagger was well worth the wait. We know that in the modern world, 5 minutes off the radar is enough to be forgotten forever, but this is heavy metal. The rules are a little different from those that govern the rest of reality. Great taste in riffs, solos, leads, and a charismatic voice combined with a solid rhythm section makes this one of those heavy metal albums that sound like classics the moment you give them a listen. Eternal Dagger is heavy metal in its purest form. And it's not nostalgic because this is the embodiment of the spirit of the sacred sound. A must-have for anyone who claims to love heavy music. With a consistent release schedule of one album every 3 years, the American band Fires in the Distance proves that it's possible to resist the algorithm's pressure to constantly release new material just to stay relevant, when what really matters is the music and the way it affects us. In a world of growing indifference and collective numbness, having something that makes us feel something is special in and of itself. And then the music itself is absolutely memorable and striking. The epic opener of Radiance and Leviation is a work of art that sets the stage perfectly for the melodic doom, death metal masterpiece that follows. Fires in the Distance is a band that fans of the genre should keep a close eye on, and Circadian Promise is a standout album in their discography. A third album that will become a classic in no time.